Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
Why wasn't something done sooner? The Justice Department opens a new review into how the FBI handled the Larry Nassar investigation. Mara.
Wanting to finally put to bed any questions about voter integrity, Macomb County is bringing in a nationally accredited expert to conduct an audit of its election server.
But we begin with breaking news. A dozen families are without a place to stay tonight because of a fire at an apartment building on Detroit's west side.
This happened on Braille and West Chicago near Evergreen. Tim Pamplin with the night cam spoke to a woman who had to leave everything behind. Tim.
Fire breaking out of this apartment complex. West Chicago Evergreen area. A large 30-unit complex here is called Jackson Ace. Firefighters arrived, saw smoke and flames billowing from the upstairs unit. Now, we just got this video. This is a Detroit police officer responding to the scene. They went in and started clearing out the building. This police officer is being transported. We're not too sure why. We're checking up on that. Now, many of the residents escaped with what they had on their body. Miss Chanel here didn't even have a chance to get her shoes on.
Somebody banging on the door, talking about, everybody get out, it's a fire, it's a fire. So me and my son got out. I just heard a loud boom, and everybody came outside. And this is what we see.
And what they saw was, well, their home taken away from them. I'm hearing about a dozen units here are now unoccupiable. Water, smoke, fire damage. We are checking on that police officer. Like I say, he was transported away from the scene here rather quickly with a police escort. As soon as we get up there on him, we'll let you know. But that is the scene right now on the west side with the night cam. Tim Pamplin, Local 4.
It's awful. All right, Tim. Our other top story at 11, a closer look into the FBI agents who mishandled the Larry Nassar investigation.
New information has come to light about what happened when gymnasts first reported the abuse to investigators, and it could mean new charges. Jason Colthorpe is live tonight with these big new developments. Jason.
Yeah, and Kim, lawmakers and gymnasts were furious at the initial decision not to charge these agents with any sort of crime in this. But now with this new information emerging, the Justice Department might be turning things around on that front.
It was like serving innocent children up to a pedophile on a silver platter.
We suffered and continue to suffer because no one at FBI, USAG, or the USOPC did what was necessary to protect us.
The emotionally charged testimony last month from former Olympic gymnasts to Congress conveyed their anger toward the FBI for not stopping Larry Nassar when agents had the chance.
I began crying at the memory over the phone, and there was just dead silence. I was so shocked at the agent's silence and disregard for my trauma. After that minute of silence, he asked, "Is that all?"
That agent who Michaela Maroney spoke to was fired, while the other retired early in 2018. Today, the U.S. Deputy Attorney General revealing to the Senate Judiciary Committee that new information has come in about those two former agents who have been accused of mishandling those complaints and the investigation about Nassar.
The survivors who testified so bravely last month deserved better than they got from the FBI and from the Justice Department. The IG documented inexcusable, unacceptable failures, some of them quite fundamental failures. A lack of urgency, a lack of care for the victims who we have a duty to protect.
Lisa Monaco not saying what the new information is, but that the Justice Department is now urgently reviewing the decision not to prosecute.
And this investigation is about time. The FBI didn't officially open an investigation into Nassar until a year after it got that first complaint. Kimberly?
Jason, in that year, do we know how many more young women were abused?
Well, it's an estimate, but they believe at least 70 gymnasts were abused in that time, Kim.
All right. Yeah. Jason, thanks. The owner of a Metro Detroit crematory is charged with improperly disposing of bodies. O'Neill Swanson owned Tri-County Cremation Services in Ypsilanti Township. An investigation was launched by the state after a complaint that bodies were not properly stored and bodily fluids were leaking onto the floor. This summer, the state ordered the crematory to stop operations, and all bodies have since been removed. Swanson faces up to 10 years in prison. Well, he says he wants to lead the state in election integrity. Macomb County's clerk is hiring.
We're told as a safeguard, not because they believe there were any issues with the last election, right?
Well, Devin, right. The expectation is they're not going to find anything here, but Forlini wants to have the experts come in, audit the server, not just to take a look at the last election results, but what they can do going forward to audit. Take a look. Donald Trump won Macomb County by 8 points, but still, newly elected clerk Tony Forlini gets questions from the public about whether their vote is truly counted.
I have all the confidence in the world that we have done things right in Macomb County. This is before me, but I can't verify it until I do this.
Forlini has contracted with Pro V&V, a firm out of Alabama, to audit the county's election server to ensure there have been no hacks or outside interference. Plus,
each of those tabulators actually can scan each of the ballots and have a digital copy, so people can FOIA this information, look at every single ballot that's been cast, the exact image, and know how the tabulators recorded the score.
The audit is slated to cost $16,000.
When we're done with all this process, everyone should have a lot of comfort in how Macomb County runs their elections.
Back here live, those consultants from Pro V&V expect them to be here next week with results shortly after that. We're live in Mount Clemens. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
We'll follow it. All right, Mara. President Biden, meanwhile, took his push to pass an infrastructure bill to Howell today. He toured the training facility for the Union of Operating Engineers before speaking about his Build Back Better agenda. The president is pushing Congress to spend trillions of dollars on infrastructure and social programs. But the bills have divided members of his own Democratic Party. Michigan would get billions of dollars for things like roads, lead pipe removal, child care, community college, and green industry jobs.
When we give working families a break, we're not just raising their quality of life, we're putting parents in a position to earn a paycheck. We're also positioning our country to compete in the world. That's what these bills are all about.
About a mile from where the president spoke, hundreds of people protested against that spending plan and in support of former President Trump.
We now know what was inside the car that led to a 7-hour closure on the Ambassador Bridge. Windsor police say 2 inactive grenades were found in an unidentified white powdery substance on the Canadian side of the border yesterday. The powder was tested and was not hazardous. Police say an American man was driving the car. He will not be charged. A St. Clair County man is arrested outside the U.S. Supreme Court today. Police responded to calls of a suspicious vehicle near the High Court. They say 55-year-old Dale Paul Melvin from Kimball Township refused to get out of his SUV, saying, quote, "The time for talking is done." Police used flashbangs to get him into custody. Police say no weapons were found and the investigation is ongoing. It did not interrupt the court's oral arguments. Another booster shot proposal will soon be under review by the FDA.
Yep, Johnson & Johnson seeking emergency use authorization for a second dose of their vaccine. Remember, it's just one. The drug maker says it would increase protection to 94% against moderate to severe reactions to COVID. Johnson & Johnson asking for boosters for people 18 years of age and older. Of course, the FDA has already approved a Pfizer booster for some groups, like people 65 and older. Also today, Henry Ford Health System announced 400 workers have quit over Henry Ford's vaccine mandate. 1,900 workers got exemptions, which is about 6% of the employees of the hospital system.
A hidden camera is found inside an Oakland County gym.
And police have identified 10 victims. They fear, though, there could be more. What we know about the man accused of spying on unsuspecting women coming up.
And they were caught on camera trying to burn a local restaurant down. Police need your help to find these arsonists. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Kim, and if you are planning things for the kids heading to the bus stop tomorrow, there could be some areas of dense fog in the morning. 61 degrees, 73 for the high with a fairly pleasant afternoon. We're going to take a deep dive into who and may not get that dense fog. We'll do that in just a few minutes.
All right, Paul, but first, damning allegations against the social media sites so many scroll every day.
Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy.
Why a former employee turned whistleblower says Congress needs to step in. We'll also have what Facebook has to say tonight. Next.